How's it going, folks? So today I'm going to be talking about the new album from the band Excalion. The name of this album is Once Upon a Time. This bad boy releases on March 24th. But y'all know, before I get into that nitty gritty, let's check out the cover. So boom, there it is. Take a look at that cover. I dig it. I really, really like this cover. It kind of draws your attention. It kind of demands further inspection, and you kind of want to look at it, see some of the finer details in there. You got this cool uh, like kind of antique looking, almost grandfather clock type deal. Granted, I don't know if you can see the little pendulum. Oh no, yeah, it definitely looks like it's got that little pendulum down in there that clicks back and forth. So really cool looking antique clock. It's kind of tilted off to the side, and there looks to be like vines kind of growing on it. And you got this blue flame almost swirling around, this blue energy swirling around it. It just looks really, really neat. And the way that they did the blue energy swirls or whatnot, like I said, it really pulls the eye in to looking at this. So I definitely think if you're at the CD shop scrolling through, looking through CDs, you'll stop on this one. You'll be, oh, that looks cool. A nice, cool blue color, and then the clock there, and it draws your eye, and the nice blue background, and then Excalion down there, the band name, and under that, Once Upon a Time. It just looks really neat. Again, aesthetically, I really dig it. It's a good eye-catching kind of thing, and there's a lot of cool detail in there. So yeah, I really like it on that front. Definitely stands out. And but as far as does it properly convey the style of music that's on the CD? Like if you've never heard of the band before, you're looking through CDs, you see this cover, you're like, "Ooh, that's a cool looking cover." What's the deal with this? Is this going to be something I like or not based off the cover? It's always difficult for me to say because, like, when I already know, what it sounds like, or what the band is. But like if you never heard of it, I think it does a good job. I was really kind of looking at it, and I think it definitely conveys kind of like a power or melodic metal sort of vibe. There's a lot of genres that I feel like it rules out, and I definitely think it conveys like a metal kind of thing. I guess it could be like progressive metal too, but I do think it definitely rules out like black metal because you can actually read the band logo. But I think it also rules out death metal, and I just think it definitely gives off the vibes of power or melodic or progressive metal. So you'll be in the ballpark. I think if you pick this up based off the cover, thinking, this looks like something that you might like, I do think you would not be surprised or disappointed by what's contained therein. So yeah, on both fronts, yeah, I give the cover an A plus. I dig it. I really, really like it. Now, as far as the album itself, this bad boy's got 11 tracks, comes in at about 55 minutes, and like I said, releases on March 24th. Yeah, good length of time, just under an hour, 11 tracks. You got a good variety of lengths on here. There's one that's like 3 minutes, a few that are like 3 minutes or so, then like 4 to 5 minutes. A couple that are close to seven. So a good variety. You don't have any of those like 12-minute long epics, and there's really no filler in here. So yeah, as far as the amount of tracks and the length of the album, I think it's just right. The album goes by pretty quick. You'd think 55 minutes, yeah, it's a bit longer than some, but it really it flows nicely, and like I said, it goes by pretty quick. There's a lot of nice diversity in the songs where it doesn't feel like you just keep hearing the same thing over and over, or like it drags on or anything like that. Every song kind of stands out on its own merit, and like I said, it has a nice flow to the album, and yeah, so yeah, good length, good amount of tracks, and it's put together well so that you never just sit there and feeling like, oh man, this is dragging, or I feel like I heard this song like for the last three songs I've been listening to the same song. Nothing like that. It's nice and diverse, and keeps things fresh and moving along nicely. As far as the arrangement of the songs on the album, like I said, there's a nice flow to it. I do think they did a really great job organizing it for the most part. Like for the most part, I'll touch on this a little bit later, but anywho, as far as the sound that you're gonna get on here, this is some true like melodic power metal. A little on the heavier side, there's some heavy riffs, but it's nothing that's like super like heavy or anything like that. But if you consider melodic power metal, there's some heavy moments. There's a little bit of heavy on the heavier side. There's not really anything like breakdowns or anything like that, but just some of the riffs and the sound of the guitar. There's an edge. There's definite heaviness here, but I also wouldn't call it like a heavy metal like power metal album. Definitely melodic power metal through and through. Great use of some keyboards on here. That helps, kind of with levity, a little bit because you have sometimes the guitars are heavy. There's some heavy riffs going on, but the keyboard adds that nice little lightness to it, I guess. So everything's balanced really well. You never feel like you're just down in the trenches. Even though, like I said, there is some aggression, there is some edge at times. Um, but yeah, so as far as the guitar work is just stellar on here. Whether it's doing some nice riffs, kind of driving the songs forward or this or that, you get some really good guitar solos, just some good guitar melodies, even aside from solos. And it just works really well. The tone of the guitar is really good. And as I said, it kind of contributes well to just adding a little bit of this heaviness to the sound. Not always, but there is some definite heavy guitar chugging to go along. But yeah, the guitar work is just stellar. I really enjoyed all the guitar work, and again, the diversity throughout some of these songs is really nice. And so you get a lot of different types of kind of guitar playing. Like I said, it's not just constantly dam, like heavy. You get some lighter guitar melodies. You get some great solos. You get some picking, melodies at times. It's not just all just heavy strumming or anything like that. So always does a good job of suiting the mood or the atmosphere of the song, but serving as this real kind of backbone to the sound. It's really what drives a lot of the songs, in my opinion, on this album, the guitar. Whereas the keyboard, also phenomenal. You get a nice range of keyboard sounds in here as well. Sometimes just kind of adding just like a backing layer of sound. Kind of other times, you get some more distinct melodies going on, and some different um, like tones and whatnot from the keyboard as well. Sometimes it sounds just like a keyboard. Sometimes it's a little bit of almost a little bit of an electronic, or like organ. Like they play with the sound of the keyboard a little bit also, in some of the songs. So it's not like you're just constantly hearing like a piano or keyboard. You get some different sounds from it too, and just stellar keyboard playing, and does a really great job of giving a little bit of personality to the songs, because again, the guitar also gives personality, but again, it's kind of what it is the foundation of a lot of these tracks, and defines the song, or determines the sound of the song, or the feeling, or the drive, or the soaring nature. But the keyboard just adds a real nice flavor around it, and kind of adds some extra personality in there. The bass work is really great. Sometimes you can just really hear the dun 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 dun, chugging along, playing some great bass melodies. And the drum work is really solid as well. In particular, again, even the drums. There's moments where the drums play around a little bit. Like there's one song in particular, which I'll mention, where it's almost like it's hard to say, but almost like like tapping the drumsticks on like wood blocks or something like that. Really neat. So yeah, there's it. it's hard to explain. I don't want you to think this is some really crazy, outside of the box kind of album, but there is a lot of, or there are a lot of little creative touches throughout that really give it an extra personality, set it apart from the pack, because you don't just have this one constant sound all the way through. Like I said, there are a lot of little creative touches thrown in there that just keep the album alive and add to the freshness of the sound. And as you're listening to it, it helps to keep it feeling new, and it keeps you engaged, so you're not just like zoning out, like, okay, keep hearing the same thing. So they did a really great job with the songwriting, and just keeping the listener engaged, and giving each song like its own little stamp of like a personality, but having it still all kind of tied together, so you're like in the same album. It's not like you go from one song to the next and it's like, where did this come from? No, it's all connected, but still, feeling diverse. So yeah, as far as the songwriting goes, really great. The arrangements, and with the keyboard and everything, really really solid. And then on top of all of that, you have the vocals, which are just so powerful. This album just has a powerful sound in general, but the vocals add just an extra layer of power to the sound. I mean, he's just got such a powerful voice, and I'm not gonna like linger on this, or like really harp on it, because I'm sure anybody who listens to this album is definitely going to draw a comparison. So I definitely do want to point it out. But the vocalist does sound quite a bit like Marco Hayatala of, former Nightwish. Um, you can't not hear the similarities at times. So, that's why I'm mentioning it here, but I'm not going to linger on it, because that's just kind of unfair to the vocalist, because he does have his own distinct voice. It's just there are definite times where it's like, well, this sounds like, if you didn't know any better, you might think it's Marco Hayatala, but at any rate, he's got his own distinct voice though, and it's so powerful, and his range is just excellent. The way he delivers the vocal lines is just stellar, and yeah, I mean, just killer voice here. As far as the melodies and the songs, like the vocal melodies, they're all really excellent. Again, I already kind of mentioned just how the songs all sound quite diverse and have their own characteristics, and a good part of that is also in the melody. Sometimes it's more like deliberate, like strikes of kind of vocal delivery, and other times it's much smoother, and other times it's like soaring, and there's an aggression at times, and then there's that just more melodic style of vocals. But no matter what he's doing here, he's doing it really really great, and it just suits the songs, and it suits the sound uh, of the album just really really well. So yeah, you get some great melodies in here, really catchy. Again, you get some driven stuff, you get some nice melodic stuff, you get some of the soaring stuff, and then you get some other little things in here. So just I was really really impressed. I went into this album thinking I was gonna like it, but I ended up liking it quite a bit more than I thought I was, because it just there's a lot of personality in here, and that's something that I always love, when a band is able to infuse their music with a distinct personality, and set it apart, from other things in a similar genre, other bands like in a similar genre, and all of that. They do a great job with that here. So yeah, melodic power metal through and through. Some heaviness, some lighter moments, great melodies, some soaring moments, and a lot of creative just input from the various instruments, and the vocals, and just the songwriting. So really really stellar as far as that goes. And to talk about the arrangement of the album, there's another area where I think they did a phenomenal job, except the one spot, which I'll get to. But the way the album, a lot of albums, I notice they start strong, the middle gets a little fuzzy, and then the end is really good. Like the first few are great, the middle five or so are like, they kind of can run together, and then the last couple or whatnot are great. But here, everything builds really, really well, and it's almost like tracks 1 through 3 are somewhat of a warm up into the real meat of the album, and to the real like personality of the album. Because once you get to track 4, the like I said, the true personality, the true distinct characteristics of this album really start to show up. And so it's just got a really nice build up, and it continues all the way through. Like at no point does the album kind of falter. The only nitpick that I have is the arrangement of the album. Is track 11, Band of Brothers. It's not a bad song. I do like the song. No, I mean, I won't talk about the song too much, but it's not a bad song. It's got a cool melody. It's got some neat things going on in there. But I think that the album would have been best suited if track 10, Eternals, was the final song, as opposed to Band of Brothers. Because when I listened to track 10, Eternals, and it kind of ended, it just felt like a very fitting end for the album. And then Band of Brothers starts up, and it kind of it almost feels like it restarts the album. Like I said, it just with Eternals there at track 10, it just serves as a really nice kind of end cap to the album, satisfying, and for you to just go and jump back in, start from the beginning again. But then Band of Brothers kind of shakes things up a little bit, and then when that's over, it's like, oh, okay, the album's over. It just didn't quite land for me as the ending track. So maybe even if you just swap the two and put Band of Brothers as track 10, and then Eternals as track 11, the end, the final track, I think that would have been absolutely perfect. So that's really my only nitpick on the album, is that I don't think Band of Brothers should have been the last song. I think Eternals should have been. But it starts out with track 1, Keitele, and it's a really nice kind of mellow, melodic um, intro track. It's almost 4 minutes long, but it's definitely, you can tell it's an intro track, and it just gets you ready. It's really, really well done, and it's got a great feeling and mood and atmosphere, and great guitar work in there, and even vocals and whatnot. And it builds into track 2, Resolution, beautifully. It's almost seamless, and it kind of takes off from there. You get track 3, Soulbound, which was released as a single, which is a cool song. And then you get track 4, like I said, when some of the distinct characteristics of the album start to really surface, and that's when my attention was really grabbed. Like I was into it, but then once track 4 hit, Words Cannot Heal, I was like, okay, okay, now you're getting my attention, for sure now. Like I'm getting really quite intrigued here. And then track 5, once that song hit, Amuse Me, I was sold. I was sold. I think at the end of the day, that's probably my favorite song on the album. It's just so cool and quite unique, a bit maniacal. And it's like the first true like example of like, oh wow, okay, they're not afraid to be somewhat creative and different, and it's just got such a cool vibe. And melody, and again, just feeling, and there's a bit of a maniacal kind of like a gleeful dark, vibe to the song. And it's just really neat. Like I said, I think it's probably the highlight of the album for me. It's probably my favorite song, but yeah, I dig it big time. And then it kind of goes from there. Track 6, Once Upon a Time, is just another stellar track, and it goes up through track 8, When a Moment Turns into a Lifetime, is somewhat kind of like a ballad. And it just serves as a good again, every, all the songs except the last two were arranged beautifully, in my opinion. And it's just an epic, sounding song, and I really dig it. Track 9, Radiant Halo, is another stellar song. And then track 10, Eternals. I love this song. It just got such a glorious melody, and it's got an epic feeling. And it just, oh man, it just would have served so good as the final song. I love it. And then Band of Brothers, it's got like a kind of interesting momentum to it, and just the way that they, arrange the song and whatnot. It's a cool song, but like I said, it just almost feels like I felt like after Eternals and then Band of Brothers hits, it feels like you're kind of kick-started back into gear, and then that song ends, and you're like, oh, that was the end. It just was kind of an odd uh, momentum shift there at the end, but yeah, really really great album, and y'all know how I always give you my recommendation on a song to check out that I feel like really encapsulates the sound of the whole album really well. If you're like, hey, tell me one song to listen to determine if I want to listen to the whole album or not. Based on the two singles that are released as of now, Soulbound and I would say check out I Am I, because Soulbound's really good, but I feel like contains a little bit more of that little personality that I'm talking about, that you'll find throughout a good portion of the album, where Soulbound is a little bit more straightforward. Like I said, that's kind of part of the buildup of the album, into the real meat of it. So yeah, I would say check out I Am I, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. And then when the album drops, I would say definitely don't miss the song "Amuse Me," just because that's my personal favorite of the album. Yeah, "I Am I" is an awesome song, and yeah, I love "Once Upon a Time" as well. I love. It's just a really stellar album. So yeah, I highly, highly recommend it. Friday, March 24th, this bad boy drops the new album from Excalion called Once Upon a Time. I definitely, definitely give it my recommendation for sure. I enjoyed this a lot. And like I said, I was going into it thinking I was going to like it, but I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I would, just because it's just put together so well. And yeah, very strong album. Some great melodic power metal. It hits all the right spots, and yeah, I dig it big time. So I feel like the band's really outdone themselves here. They've created something really, really neat, really special. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Let me know, folks, if you're a fan of this band. How excited are you for the album? Are you going to check it out when it releases? And then once it releases and y'all get to listen to it, come back here and let me know what you think. Let's talk about it in the comments down below, and I'll catch y'all next time. Ranger?